I'm losing my fucking mind.
Let's go to our senior national security correspondent, Alexander Marquardt.
At least this guy's like a little bit different looking. You know what I mean? At least this guy looks a little bit different. Okay, well, I'm not going to watch the one where there's blood in the aftermath. Like a little bit, not a lot. CNN interviews, here's CNN interviewing Zelensky in the bunker.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky talked to CNN.
Why? Wait, what? Jake Tapper pronunciation of Volodymyr Zelensky. Hold on.
And we're back now with our breaking news. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky talked.
Volodymyr. I mean, I guess it's right, but it's still funny.
From a bunker in Kyiv. He talked about his country's determination to fight off.
He tried to put a spin on that tongue when he was saying it, you know?
The Russian invaders. And he talked about his message to Americans and to President Biden. Let's bring back CNN's
I know. You say it wrong though. I know. I love it when motherfuckers like in America try to do the proper pronunciation.
Keith, who did this interview, who conducted it. Matthew, tell us about your conversation with President Zelensky.
Yeah, well, first of all, we were taken to a secret location inside central Kiev, near the presidential compound. We were escorted by heavily armed military forces into an underground bunker when President Zelensky finally arrived wearing green sort of military fatigues. I talked about all those things, but I started off by asking him what his message was for President Biden ahead of the State of the Union address.
Are they just doxing where this dude is? What the fuck?
Later on tonight.
What message? So many messages. I think that he has to give those messages what will really work. That is very important to be very, useful in this situation, in this war against Russia.
I think, first of all, he's a world leader, and it's very important for people in the United States to understand that despite the fact that the war is taking place in Ukraine, it's essentially for values in life, for democracy, for freedom. Therefore, this war is for all the world. And that message should be sent far and wide, from Ukraine to people in the United States, so they understand what it is like for us here, what we're fighting for, and why support for Ukraine matters.
For a long time, you downplayed the US intelligence assessments about there being an imminent Russian attack.
CNN media reporter owning Zelensky. CNN reporter owning Zelensky while he's like literally dodging bullets, which is fucking weird. Okay.
Do you now regret that? And do you think the fact that you didn't act earlier has left
the audacity that we have in America is wild. These motherfuckers will be like, now is not the time. Now is not the time for anything else. We can only talk about Ukraine. And then you send a CNN reporter and he's like, do you doubt do you feel bad that you fucking denied the American intelligence? Huh? Remember your fucking place.
People of Ukraine unprepared.
The response you see today, how we work, how our army works and defends us, is a testament that we're ready for anything. Even though we were preparing in advance, it's important not to let your enemy anticipate your reaction.
That's crazy, dude. That's a crazy fucking take, dude. Holy shit. And people accused you of doing a victory dance? Yeah, what the fuck? Yeah, he must be listening to my Twitch stream. That's why he was like, he was unprepared.
That's why I really did not like that situation where we put everything at risk and tell the world that we're preparing for war.
The United States has said that it will not enforce a no-fly zone over this country, and it won't put boots on the ground. But do you think it is now time for President Biden and other Western countries to reconsider that and to help you, not just with military aid, but with manpower?
I've already turned to some foreign leaders with this request. I believe that leaders must support democratic states of the world who are keen to defend such principles. The powerful issue of closing the airspace helps us tremendously. This does not mean...
Yeah, Zelensky is a short king.
dragging NATO into this war. We spoke many times with President Biden, and I'm thankful for him for these opportunities and support, but they also did not hear me. I've been telling them that Ukraine will fight hardest of all. You will see, but us alone against Russia, we would not be able to do it.
Your army has enjoyed some significant battlefield victories in the past week. I myself have been to see some of the Russian armored columns that have been totally hammered and destroyed by the weapons and the men that you've got fighting the Russian advance. Are you now concerned, though, that the Kremlin will double down on its military operations and hit you?
You should look into Zelensky's tax evasion and mishandling of the Donbass crisis. It might change your opinion of him. Yeah, dude. If he was doing tax evasion, I think it's totally justifiable to kill as many Ukrainians as possible, I think. Yeah. That seems pretty good. Is that the take that you thought I was going to give? What an insane fucking take. And yes, I am familiar with what's going on in Donbass. And I have talked about how Ukraine, confident that America would have their back, I think overestimated the amount of support that they would be able to ultimately get from Western powers and routinely refused to get into any sort of compromise that would not like give Donbass to Russia, because that was not the intention, but offer Donbass a DPR and LPR independence that would allow Russia to at least have a say in Ukrainian foreign policy and control Ukrainian foreign policy that way. And they did not want to do that. And part of that was because I think they literally were like, well, part of that is one, because they thought, you know, fuck it, Vladimir Putin's going to fucking kill us no matter what. And the other reason, I think, was because they thought there would be, one, internal pressures that would most likely oust Zelensky, whose popularity was like waning in the lead up to this war. And two, I think they were confident that America was, you know, going to have their side on this.
Ukraine even harder.
Firstly, why are we winning, or why are we defending ourselves? Because this is our home. Yes, Russia will double up.
I don't think Ukraine should have let Russia determine its foreign policy. No. Ukraine would, by recognizing Donbass, that is still inside of Ukrainian borders and as a Ukrainian territory that has some autonomy, which was, I'm just repeating you what the fucking Minsk agreements entail, okay? So please don't fucking yell at me and be like, Vladimir Putin wants to do USSR-style communism everywhere. Like, I'm just telling you what the pre-established negotiations revolved around, okay? And those negotiations revolved around recognition of DPR and LPR, which the Ukrainian leadership did not want to recognize. Okay? Full-blown ceasefire. Complete ceasefire on both sides. Demilitarization on both sides. Both on the Russian separatist side and also on the Ukrainian National Guard side. But the Ukrainians feared that that this would mean that Russia would have a say, even though even though DPR and LPR would still maintain Ukrainian territory, would still be in Ukrainian territory, but they would be able to speak Russian and like teach Russian in schools and whatnot. This is like a common problem in old empires and the remnants of old empires, because there's like multiple different languages being spoken, different cultures, yada yada. The fear that Ukrainians had, or the fear that the Ukrainian government had, was twofold. One, if they are to seemingly make concessions, if they come across as making concessions to Russia, they're going to claim Zelensky is a Russian puppet. He doesn't have the political capital to be able to do such a thing because he wasn't popular enough at the time regardless. His popularity had fucking significantly died down from the prior election, okay? Two, the Ukrainians also feared, or the Ukrainian leadership also feared, that this would allow Russia to at least have a say in Ukrainian foreign policy. Okay? These are the two reasons why they, time and time again, despite what Macron was trying to do in the lead up, in the build up to this war, said, we are not going to, like, the Minsk agreement is bullshit. Agreeing to that would mean, the end of Ukrainian sovereignty and all that sort of stuff, which I still personally believe, if Russia did not have expansionist ambitions, would be far preferable to what is going on currently. Okay? And while Ukraine, as of now, might be winning the PR war and might even be overperforming militarily on the ground, that doesn't mean that that is going to continue. And that comes with a major cost, a human toll that is unimaginable. Okay? And to the people who always say, well, Vladimir Putin's territorial ambitions go beyond just the recognition of DPR and LPR. He's just using that as a talking point to bully Ukraine into submission, and that, like, it doesn't matter. He ultimately wanted to take over the entirety of Donbass as, like, land, maybe even the entirety of Ukraine. Even then, even if that's the case, there is no harm in trying to continue with the Minsk agreements. Like, even if that's the case, and I think you guys understand this, there is no reason not to try and exhaust all peaceful diplomatic avenues. Anyway.
But take a look at them. Why our men are stronger, more powerful and successful? Because, as I said, we have what we need to protect. And they do not even understand our state. They do not know these streets. They do not know our people, do not understand our philosophy, our aspirations, what type of people we are. They don't know anything here. They were just sent here to fight and to die.
You sent your delegation to meet the Russians for talks. Yeah. Did anything substantial come out of that? Is there any hope, as the world watches, for diplomacy?
They decided to begin to speak about this situation. And I really wanted, and I asked them, so you have to speak, first of all, everybody has to stop fighting and to go to that point from where it was beginning. Yeah. Yes, it began 6 days ago. Yes. I think there are principal things you can do it, and that is very important moment. If you'll do this, and if those side is ready, it means that they are ready for the peace.
Hitler wasn't appeased after NATO gave him Czechoslovakia, just like Putin won't be appeased after NATO gave him Ukraine. People who say this fail to recognize that, one, if you find Putin to be equivalent to Hitler, then what are you doing about it? And two, Hitler didn't have fucking nukes. Putin does. So it's an entirely different conversation. Okay? And also, three, did you just say NATO gave Hitler Czechoslovakia? Like NATO. I glanced over this take, but there is no way this person said NATO gave Hitler Czechoslovakia, right? So what's up? Like, you mean Hitler was a part of NATO then? Because, Germany is? If your take is the main difference between Hitler and Putin is nukes, you've completely missed the plot. No, my main difference between Hitler and Putin is not nukes. No, I think the material conditions were very different for Hitler's rise to power. Hitler's ambitions, I think, are different too. But a lot of people try to do the same thing and say, like, no, Putin's ambitions are the exact same as Hitler's. It's a way to try to. I mean, make no mistake, Putin is a fucking bad dude. Okay. He is a bad dude. He's not a good guy. He is a very, very, very bad guy. But no one, if you're on the side of American imperialism, you can make Hitler references and Hitler comparisons all the fucking time, and not a single person will turn around and be like, "Hey, I don't know if you recognize this, but like, kind of fucked up that you said that." And it's significantly downplaying what Hitler did by making that comparison. But it doesn't matter. People will still go along with it.
If they don't ready, it means that you're just Wasting time.
And do you think you're wasting your time, or do you think they're ready?
We'll see.
Well, Jake, we will see indeed, because it's been reported from Russia that there are more talks scheduled for tomorrow between Ukraine and Russia to see if there's a diplomatic solution that can be found to this. Ukrainian officials that I've spoken to, though, say the bombing campaign is so intense that everything might change.
Matthew, it's tough to envision any sort of diplomatic off-ramp for Putin. He has decided to go in and invade a country and kill civilians unprovoked just because he thinks that country should be part of Russia. Does President Zalensky see any diplomatic off-ramp at all?
At this stage, no. I mean, he played down the possibility there was going to be a diplomatic outcome. Not even the possibility of a ceasefire, he said, until he saw that, until he stopped the actual fighting. He saw the actual fighting stopping. As you said, he didn't think that the other side, the Russians, were serious about this. I mean, look, I mean, the Russians may be playing for time. They may be engaging in these negotiations so that they can rethink their plan, rethink their tactics, which clearly aren't going very well, and perhaps gather more forces. On the other hand, you know, Vladimir Putin and the Russians, they have been blooded. I mean, there have been significant amounts of Russian forces that have been destroyed in their attempt to take this country and to take its population centres. And so, you know, I don't want us to rule out. We should hope that there is still a possibility that there will be some kind of climb down. But I mean, the truth is, the record when it comes to the Kremlin and Vladimir Putin, it doesn't give you much room for optimism.
And President Zelensky, I don't mean this in a critical way, but he was unshaven. He looked exhausted. Did you get any sense of how he's holding up, not just physically but mentally?
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, he's obviously under a massive amount of pressure.
Right.
I mean, this is a hunted man. He believes he's hunted. Yeah, he believes he's the #1 target of the Russians, and that his family are the #2.
It's fine. Let's continue.
Target. That's what he says. But yeah, I mean, he's hiding from, moving from bunker to bunker.
I'm looking at security
this was
cameras.
One of the locations where we met him, that he spends time. And yes, he was wearing military fatigues. He was unshaven. He looked very pale. He had red eyes. He spoke very emotionally about his family. He was asked, at one point, when was the last time you saw your family? And he said, I haven't seen them since before this war. And then he corrected himself and said, actually, it was 3 days ago. So, and he wasn't happy about that. He's under an enormous amount of pressure. He's been thrust into this role. Remember, it wasn't long ago that he was an actor on television playing the president in a very popular sort of comedy on Ukrainian television. He then actually became the president, and now he is this kind of figure of this almost iconic figure of the Ukrainian resistance to Russian pressure, which an enormously pressurized role to play.
We've like they're kind of belittling Zelensky. Yeah, I mean, they are.